everybody. Thanks for stopping in and watching our ongoing coverage with Tropical Storm Fred. I'm Chief Meteorologist Leslie Hudson. Wanted to get you updated on what's going on with Fred now that it's moved inland. It's been in the coastal areas of the Florida Panhandle in southern Georgia and Alabama for a couple of hours now. It made landfall officially at around 2:30 local time near Cape San Blas in the Florida Panhandle. And again, several hours of a lot of wind and rain. And we've had several storm reports that have been pretty impressive in terms of the rain rates and the amount of rain that area of the country is currently getting. So let's take a look at all of this, and we'll get you updated on what you can expect through the overnight and, of course, onward into the rest of the work week. So what we're looking at first is the My Radar app. And I've got a couple of things toggled on. So, of course, I have the high definition radar turned on, but I also have the power outages turned on because a couple of the counties that have been hit really hard from the storm itself has been Wakulla and Bay County in the Panhandle. So the power outages are doing better there now, but there has been, there's several thousands, tens of thousands of people that are without power in this area of the country. There's about 2,000 people here in Liberty County. I'm just going to randomly toggle on some of these counties. Bay County, again, one of the harder hit, but still dealing with about 12,000 or so people without power. And that was much better than it was earlier in the day today, where they saw a lot of people, tens of thousands without power. And there's Wakulla, again, one of the harder hit, but now down to just under 2,000 people affected with the power outages. But I expect to see more of that, of course, tonight. And you can see some of the counties not even in the direct path of Fred, but have already been impacted by this system. You may have heard about some of the flooding rains that have been ongoing in the D.C. area, Maryland and Virginia as well. We've got some power outages here. And even though Fred is way down in the southeastern part of the country, we're still seeing some larger rotation and some of that pull from some of that tropical moisture that's coming all the way up into those areas. And that area of D.C. got hit with some serious flooding rain over the weekend, and they've had a 1-2 punch here with these multiple rounds of weather. So, it's just a long arm here of Fred, even though it's technically nowhere near that area of the country. We're still seeing some of that larger rotation, some of that larger pull that's impacting the mid-Atlantic states tonight. But as we take a look at our live radars, I've got 5 sites up. And the reason why this is a great resource is if we are trying to track severe weather, if we are trying to track a tornado or some type of, severe weather event, the 5 sites here really give you a very clear vantage point in terms of getting down to the ground and doing what we call some volume scans or 3D slicing. So as we take a look here, there's definitely still some heavy rain, but this is not the vantage point that we saw earlier this afternoon when we were live earlier today. So there's definitely been some weakening, but there is still quite a bit of weather left with Fred, which is still technically a tropical storm, and it's still, look at that, putting down almost 2 inches of rain an hour. And remember, this system is moving north at about 9 to 10 miles an hour. So multiple inches of rain in about 2 hours of time can create really dangerous flooding. There is flash flood watches up for many parts of this area of the country. I'll show you that as well. This one down just below it, just under 6/10 of an inch of rain. So some of those heavier pockets north of Mariana have really been producing some significant weather. And speaking of, let me show you a camera out of Mariana. Our partners with WeatherStem have cameras, of course, all across the country. And you can see, of course, it's nighttime. It's hard to get a good vantage point, but you definitely can see some rain on the lens. And you can also see the camera kind of bobbing back and forth. The winds in this area have been around 45 to 50 miles an hour in gusts. And you can see they're definitely getting a squall over Mariana right now. Likely going to be a long night for the power crews there, trying to keep power on for folks through the overnight hours as the system pulls northward. And then potentially we're going to be talking about those power outages, of course, extending northward as we get into tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be a big mess for the folks in the Atlanta, Georgia area, because the forecast calls for Fred to move over the Atlanta suburbs and maybe right over the city as well. So that will mean a slow go for commuters. Again, the timing of this should be around 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. We also have some video that we got off of social media in Port St. Joe, Florida earlier today. And of course, a lot of folks were out with their smartphones safely, hopefully, capturing what Fred was bringing ashore from the many high rises in that area of the country. And you can see that there was definitely some heavy rain and driving wind near the Port St. Joe area. Of course, this is very near Mexico Beach. Mexico Beach also one of the areas that saw some pretty bad weather from Fred earlier in the day today. And of course, Mexico Beach was the center of the landfall of Hurricane Michael, which was a catastrophic hurricane for that region just a couple of years ago. So, this area of the country, in Florida in particular, still quite vulnerable to hurricanes. They're still in the active process of rebuilding. And you can certainly see there was heavy rain for those folks, and there also has been localized flooding there as well. All right, let's talk about the wind speeds, because there has been a big gamut of the winds, as I mentioned. At one point, we saw some winds near 70 miles an hour in Apalachicola. When we started our live stream today around 4:30 Eastern time, there was a wind gust of 73 miles an hour in Apalachicola. And again, that's just 1 degree or 1 mile an hour shy of hurricane force gusts. So that's some significant wind. Right now, we're seeing the winds in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 miles an hour. Some of those higher winds are being reported in Marietta, where the wind is 28, about 29 in Dothan, Alabama, and give or take 10 miles or so in gusts around in those surrounding cities. So the winds have definitely relaxed since earlier in the day today, but still going to see some of those strong winds come in with some of those feeder bands, and they come very, very quickly. It can be almost dead calm where you are, and then a tropical band comes over you, and it just picks up like a snap there, and the winds really whip up, and so does the rain. Take a look at some of these rain rates. I'm working on some rain totals for you for the fast forecast tomorrow, and some of the totals are estimated near 10 inches. Some of that is offshore, but look at the southern tip of Florida there, near the Florida Everglades, right into the Florida Keys. There's that little cusp of it looks like to be maybe a Doppler estimate of 10 inches of rain, and also up near Port St. Joe and into Apalachicola. There's a couple of bullseye there that are close to 10 inches in Doppler radar estimated rain rate. So an incredible amount of rain. This area of the country under a flash flood watch for a big portion of tonight. So before you go to bed, make sure you've got your notifications turned on. Make sure that you've got a NOAA weather radio, hopefully, and that you do have them audible. I know a lot of folks put their phones to silent when they go to bed, but if you're in this area and you're in that flash flood watch, you really want to make sure that you've got your notifications turned on, because it just takes one storm or one cell to train over one area for 90 minutes to 2 hours, and you've got 4 inches of standing water, and you've got a huge mess. So, we've seen people stranded in their cars in the Florida Panhandle earlier this evening around 6:30. I saw some people that were some video on social media of people stranded in cars. Indian Pass, Florida, by the way, got a pretty nasty storm surge from Fred earlier today, and that was one of the other areas this morning where I saw some folks that were trying to get rescued from their cars that were stranded. So, we've still got a couple more hours here of some of these more intense weather hazards, and the storm surge, although it's already come in, it's still lingering in some of these areas. So a 1 to 3 feet is a good estimate. Some areas 3 to 5, but that's going to really start to go down as we get into tonight. Now, as we take a look at forward in time, as we get into tomorrow morning, again around 2 a.m. south of Macon, we're looking at some of those tropical storm force winds moving up into the Macon area, and then just to the east of the Atlanta area. So maybe Atlanta will the brunt of those winds will spare Atlanta, but I do think it's going to be close enough that you're definitely going to have some squally weather as this moves up towards the north, and then moving into the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains, really going to be a problem for those areas as we head into the next couple of days. So there's a look at the infrared, and you can still see that we've got a big burst of convection there, big orange blob indicating a red one. Some really cold cloud tops in the atmosphere. These storms extending very high up, 40,000 plus in the atmosphere. So those have the ability to significantly bring in a fair amount of weather as they move, as Fred moves northward. So as of 8 p.m. local time, we'll get another update from the National Hurricane Center at 11 p.m., but the winds were down to 50 miles an hour. And of course, we are anticipating that the winds will continue to weaken now that Fred has been overland for several hours. Going to probably be a minimal tropical storm tomorrow morning. But again, it's the training tropical downpours that I'm concerned with in terms of flooding risks. And then, getting caught in some of those squalls that can really make, power lines susceptible to outages, and transformers can blow easily when you've got got a lot of rain in a short period of time. So we'll see how that happens. But by the way, Fred is moving northeast at about 10, and it's about 15 miles to the south of Marianna, Florida. That was as of 8 p.m. So it's 9:35 roughly here along the East Coast. We're in Orlando, Florida, so obviously it's a little less than that now. So it's probably about 5 miles south of Marianna technically. We'll get, again, another update from the Hurricane Center at 11 p.m. with a new path. But you can see the official path from 5 p.m. moving back towards the right, or towards the mid-Atlantic. And that's what I was talking about. This area of the country already been dealing with a fair amount of weather from Fred. Even though it's way hundreds of miles south, we're going to still see some impacts, and even some direct impacts from Fred with this ongoing flash flooding risk, because this area of the U.S. has seen a ton of rain over the last couple of days. Severe weather threat, that also continues to get lesser and lesser as the night wears on. There's still the possibility of some isolated tornadoes. I have not seen any confirmed tornadoes from Fred. I've been watching the National Weather Service live chat. I have not seen that come in, but there certainly has been a lot of wind, and there has been a lot of rain. About 5 million people are at a slight risk for the remainder of tonight, about 7 million people at a marginal risk. There is another slight risk for tomorrow for those mid-Atlantic states and the Southeast, because, again, the potential for these rotating storms to produce some short-lived tornadoes. So that's certainly a possibility. Futurecast shows, again, the Atlanta area on this particular model. This is the HRR, the HER model, we call it. High resolution, short-term forecast does indicate that there could be some nasty weather that moves into Atlanta. And then as we head into late Tuesday and into Wednesday, up into Virginia, West Virginia, up into Pennsylvania. And again, of course, this will be nowhere near the system it is now, but going to be producing some pretty rough weather, or at least some rainy weather for sure, for that area of the country as we head into Thursday. The rain totals estimated are anywhere from 5 to 7. We've already talked about this. We've already seen accumulated rain in the neighborhood of 10 inches in some pockets. So I certainly think this is from the Weather Prediction Center. That is certainly a reasonable number. I expect to see that to continue to just pile on as we head into those next couple of hours, and still dealing with this fair amount of heavy weather here, even though much less organized than we saw earlier. This is definitely a system that has the potential to put down some heavy rain. So that's going to do it for just a quick update for you guys tonight. We're trying to get things ready for your fast forecast in the morning, but some housekeeping notes for you. We'll keep an eye on everything. We'll come back on live tonight if we need to, if the weather turns worse, or we start to see some weather conditions that we need to let you know about. And in the event that happens, we always try and live stream during those breaking weather events. If not, you can catch our forecast, the fast forecast. It starts at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. We work late into the late night to get that to you guys in the morning. And then tomorrow we'll see how everything plays out. We'll be back here doing some live streams and doing some live updates for you, as well as we continue to watch Fred as it moves up into the southeastern U.S. and eventually up into the northern part of the country. All right, you guys, that'll do it for now. I am Chief Meteorologist Leslie Hudson. As always, we really appreciate you guys sticking with us. I know it's late. A lot of folks turn their phones off, are not watching live streams, but we really appreciate the support. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. That really helps our analytics and discoverability, and we're trying to grow that channel. So we'd really appreciate that. But across all of our social media platforms, we'd really appreciate that as well. All right, you guys, that'll do it for now. Stay safe. Hope you stay dry as well, and we will see you here tomorrow.